Hey everybody, Jesse here for 3Prong Gaming, and in today's episode we are going to start doing a little bit more of an intelligent construction process. We're going to start setting it up, and we're going to need this process in order to make things a little bit more autonomous, and so yeah, let's get this going. Alright, well in the last episode, we set it up to where our NPC walks according to the game speed. So yeah, and we slowed down our game speed as well. If you haven't seen that, then go ahead and check that out. Now, like I said, we're going to start making this a little bit more intelligent for the construction process. Construction process is actually, at least to this point for me, I'm starting to do some resources and stuff and incorporate other businesses in my lead project. But for now, it's really actually a pretty complicated process. There's a lot that goes on with it because construction's just kind of an evolving thing in your game, and you're going to end up doing quite a bit of it, but then there's going to be lulls where there's not. But anyway, so we need to make it a little bit more intelligent, and because right now we pretty much put a building down and the NPC runs to it, constructs it, and that's it. Well, we've got a construction office, so we need to make that construction office start doing a little bit of work, and yeah, so this is going to be a multi-part event. Like I said, there's a lot that goes on in this, and so we're going to break it off chunk by chunk. I'm thinking it's definitely at least going to be 2, probably going to be about 3, but the third one's going to be where we start making the NPC apply for jobs. They're going to find jobs, so we're going to, they need to go to work for the construction office before they can actually go construct. So that'll be probably the last step. We probably could, I thought about it, we could probably did that first where they go for a job and find a job. Yeah, that's actually probably going to be a little bit easier to do. I don't know. It's still kind of complicated, but I decided to go ahead and start with the construction process and the way we handle things right now. So, yeah, that's where we're going to start. So we're not going to have much to show for it until pretty much all these parts are done. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and bite this off and get this thing going. Up here, you can see these are pretty much the blueprints we're going to need open for this event. And so you do know, I did upgrade. I'm using engine 4.10.0. So far, so good. The only problem was there is an issue with it. There is a bug. 4.10 ultimately just, they squashed a lot of bugs, fixed a lot of things. They added some mobile support and some VR support. But, as you would expect, not just with them, but most software, when it updates, they may squash bugs, but you're going to have new ones come cropping up. And this one is no different. Be warned when you upgrade. If you've changed, let me open up a widget here real quick. Let's open up our main UI here. And in the designer tab, what I have normally was I had closed all this animation stuff. I set the layout in here differently because at least to this point I haven't really used the animation for the widgets. So I kind of I got rid of it to give me more screen space in here. It crashed when I upgraded. Okay, so be warned, if you change the layout, and as far as I know, this only happens in the widgets. If you've changed anything, whether it's the animation tabs or anything, if you changed any layouts in your widget, you're going to crash. All right, so before you upgrade, if you did change anything in here, go open it up in 4.9.2 or whatever your last version is, and close the tab out. You don't want it open. All right, and then shut it down, save it, make sure it's not an open tab, any widget, doesn't matter which one it is. Make sure it's closed, then go ahead and update to 4.10. And then when you update, what you want to do is you want to come up here into Window. It doesn't matter what tab you're in. Go into Window and select Reset Layout. Now be warned, If you've changed anything in your browser on anything, if you've redesigned your layout here, like if you moved your details panel, I've done that. And actually in my lead project, I've taken my details panel and moved it down over here. It's going to reset everything that you've changed. Now it looks like there's an option to save it. So you can save your layout before you reset it. If you like your layout, I would suggest doing that. And because when they come out with the hotfix for this, then you can reload your layout and, go back to normal. But until the hotfix is there, just reset your layout. Once you click this, a window is going to pop up and it's going to tell you right here, this action requires the editor to restart. Just go ahead and click OK. I've already did it, so I'm going to hit cancel. And then it'll reload and everything will be back to its default state and you'll be able to load up your widgets. Now, even after you do this and you upgrade to 4.10, you still can't change your widget layout. It'll crash your editor again. So just leave it like it is. Like I said, hopefully there'll be a hotfix coming out soon. But yeah, I just wanted to go over that real quick. I know I wasted a few minutes doing this, but I figured it was important to let you guys know just in case. But I am on 4.10. So let's go ahead and get this going. We're already several minutes into this, and this will probably take quite a few minutes to do. So, Construction Manager. The way I decided to do this, I originally had this set up a little bit differently, but I realized that the Construction Manager, well, its job is to manage construction, right? So the bulk of the work that needs to be done is going to be put in the Construction Manager. It's going to delegate certain tasks of, which construction office is going to get the construction bid, and if no available office is there, then it's going to put it into an array to where now the construction office, when it does need a job, when it's done with its current job, it can apply for another construction bid through the Construction Manager. That's the way process I kind of got it going. So and I think that's probably the best way. Like I mentioned before, you want to try to think logically when you're deciding where to house all your functions. And logically, like I said, I believe the Construction Manager is probably the best place to hold and delegate all your construction needs. So with that, go ahead and let's see, we're in the queue construction. We're going to end up needing a function here at the end of this. So let's go ahead and create that new function now. So like I said, Construction Manager, create a new function. Let's go ahead and call this function initial contractor search. Okay. And what this is going to do for us is this is going to check when we place a construction proxy down. The Construction Manager in the queue construction, it's going to do an initial search. It's going to check everything inside the map for construction offices, and it's going to see if there's any construction offices that currently aren't busy working on another job. And if they're not, it's going to take all those construction offices and then it's going to find the distance from where you place the proxy to the available construction offices, and it's going to select whichever one is closest and available and assign it to them. All right, so that's the way this is going out. So initial contractor search. And it's always good to do a description of it so you know what it's going to do. I did that in my other project, and I'll come back and do it again on this one. I'm just not going to waste my time doing it here. So for this, we need an input, right? So we need to know what the construction proxy is. So go ahead and select new input, and we'll just call this proxy, and we will make it of type construction proxy BP reference. All right. And so off of this, go ahead and right click it, do promote to local variable. We're going to set several local variables in here. If you don't understand a local variable, well, it's just like a normal variable, except for it's only used within this function. And every time this function is called, these variables are reset. They don't retain any information outside of this function. Right? So let's go ahead and name this one proxy. And I like to label my locals as underscore local, all capital underscore, all capital letters for local. It just makes it a little easier to know when you're looking at the graph that you're working with a local variable. So that's why I like doing that. All right. So now off of this, go ahead and pull out and do a get all actors of class. All right. Now remember, this is a very expensive process, especially the larger the game gets, not necessarily game coding wise, but your map. If you got a lot of buildings in here that you're searching for of the actor type, it can slow down the game. So try not to ever use this in something like tick. Yeah, so for small processes like this, it makes it easier. So use it. That's why it's there. Just be warned that if everything's large, it could slow things down. All right. So now the class we need to check for is construction office BP. All right. So we need to get all of our construction offices that are on the map. All right. Now, so go ahead and right click on the out actors and let's do another promote to local variable. We'll call this one all construction offices underscore local. It's a little verbose, but you know, it makes it's pretty descriptive. You know exactly what it is. It's all the construction offices in a local variable. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to check the length of this. So we got to make sure that we even have any construction offices. So go ahead and pull off this, type in length, and then pull off the return value of that and do is greater than integer. We want to make sure it's just greater than 0. Like I said, we've got to make sure that we even have one. And go ahead and drop in a branch, hold B and click in the graph. I'm going to show you guys this real quick just because we're here and it's easy. One of the cool features that they did put in here for the 4.10 was the ability to auto align. So let's go ahead and select all these. We'll leave these ones right here because we don't want to auto align those. Right click on any of these and do a alignment. So you got multiple choices here. Let's just go ahead and do align middle, and they all aligned to the one I selected here, right? So if I went back up here, and did the branch, right, and I come over here, select these and right click on the branch, do align middle, they're all going to align to the middle according to the branch. All right, so yeah, that's a pretty cool feature. Help you kind of keep things organized a little bit better. All right, so now if we don't have any construction offices, this is the easy part of this here. What we need to do is we need to make a new variable here. This is not going to be a local variable. This is going to be a regular variable because this is going to have to be persistent so that the construction offices can come back and check this. So this has got to be persistent regular variable. So we'll call this one construction bids. All right. So yeah, I'm just thinking in construction terms. I used to work construction, so that's why I named it construction bids. So this is something that all the construction offices will come back and place a bid for. In other words, just is it closer to me? If it is, then cool, give it to me. All right. So we need to make this of construction proxy BP reference, and let's go ahead and make it an array. And compile it and save it. So what we need to do now is go ahead and pull out your construction bid. We'll get it. And let's go ahead and add unique. We're going to add a unique building right here. I've been trying to get in the habit of using add unique instead of just add. It makes some processes a little bit easier to deal with. All right. So then what we need to add to this is the proxy local, the one that we're passing in here at the very beginning. So it's the one we're testing. So we need to add that to the construction bid and then just go ahead and plug in the execution and pull off this and just drop in a return node. We're not going to need anything to return out of this function. So that is just fine like it is. Go ahead and move that out of the way. All right. So now that's if we don't have any construction offices, or that's just if we don't have any construction offices, that's what it's going to do. So if we do have construction offices, what we need to do is we need to get all our construction offices local. We'll get it. And then we need to loop through all of them for each loop. Okay. Go ahead and hook up the execution there to the true. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to right click on the array element, and let's promote this to a local variable as well. We will call this selected office underscore local. And we're just going to use this. This is obviously every office it's going to loop through. It's going to reset this variable to whatever office it's currently at in the cycle, which is fine. That's all we need. We're just going to use this a little bit further up in the branch. So it's just going to make it easier than dragging this pin everywhere and trying to hook it up. So just makes it a little bit easier. So we'll set that to a local variable. Okay, so now we need to create a couple other functions. So what we need to do here with the construction, remember this is the construction office that's being passed through. So we need to check a few things before we do anything. First, we need to check to see if the construction office is currently working on another task. Well, that's actually not even first. The very first thing is we need to make sure that the construction office even has employees. We don't want to assign a construction bid to an office that doesn't have employees, because if we do that and you're playing the game, for example, you're actually the customer playing the end product of the game, and you place down a construction office prematurely, expecting maybe employees to come and more NPC to come into the world to migrate into your land, and it takes them a while to do that. Well, now you've got a building that's not going to get constructed because it was assigned to a building that doesn't have any employees. So first, we got to make sure that it even has employees. And then also we're going to have to make sure that if it does have employees, that it's not currently working on another construction project. So we're going to have to create a couple functions for that. So the first one, let's go into the building master, because since, the building master is the main master of all the buildings, many of the buildings are going to have a lot of the same core features. So what we need to do here is we just need to create a new variable in the building master. We'll call this one employees. Now, not every child of the building master is going to use this variable, but it's there for those that need it. Go ahead and change its variable type to NPC BP reference. And let's go ahead and make it an array, and go ahead and compile it and save it there. So now we need to create a new function. This is a pretty simple function. We're just going to call this one get employees, right? Pretty simple. What we're going to do with this, though, we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of just taking the employees here and returning this value like we've done with some other stuff, since this is an array, there's multiple things that we can get off of this. So we might as well use this function to return those various things. And we won't necessarily need it for every time we call this function, but when we do call the function, we've got the option to use them. All right, so let me show you what I mean. Go ahead and drag off the employees here, type in length. We need the length of it. Okay. And then pull off of this and do greater than integer, and is it greater than 0? All right, so now let's go ahead and select this. We need 3 outputs here. The first output, we'll call this one has employees, right? We'll leave that as a type boolean. Go ahead and add another one. We'll call this one number of employees, and we'll make this of type integer. And finally, the last one will be list of employees, and we will make this type NPC BP reference, make it an array. We'll get the error there just because we made an array. Not a big deal. So yeah, so now we've got this set up. Now we can return right here. We're checking, do we have any employees? Is the length of it greater than 0? So we plug that into has employees. That'll return true or false. Do we have employees or not? Right? And then we take the length of it, which is the number of employees. That's how many we have as employees. And then, of course, the list of employees can go right there. So yeah, just like that. So now we can call this function and we get all this various information that is definitely useful and will come in handy in the near future. So I shouldn't be wasting my time cleaning this up, but you know how I do it sometimes. All right, so that's all we need with that. Compile and save it, and that error goes away. So now we got our get employees. So let's go ahead and jump back over here. And now, even though this is a construction office, it's a child of the building master. So we can pull off of this, and we could do get employees. We got and actually, let's jump back in here to the building master. I hate it when I forget to do this. Let's make this a pure function. Compile and save that again. Jump back into the construction manager, and there we go. Hook that up for us like we need it. All right. So now ultimately all we need off of this is has employees. So we just want to check, does it even have employees? We don't care about how many it has or who they are. We just need to know, does it have any? So pull off of this, and we need an and, because remember, like I said, we need to check multiple things here. Do we have employees, and is the office currently busy? Well, right now we don't have a way to check to see if the construction office is currently busy. So what we need to do is we need to jump into the construction office right here, right? And if you open this up and it has the other default screen, just click open up in editor blueprint, and we don't need any of that. We could just delete that. We need to create a new function, and we will call this one get job status. This is going to tell us if this construction office is currently busy or not. So we need to create a new variable, and we will call this one current job site. All right. So we'll use this to house whatever job this construction office is doing will be stored here. So the job a construction office is going to be doing will be of type construction proxy BP. So we need change that to the reference of construction proxy BP. And then in the job status, go ahead and pull out your current job site, get it. And then we just need to check is valid. All right, do the function call right there. And then go ahead and do a return. And on the return, we need to, let's go ahead and set this. We'll put has job. So if this is true, if this variable is valid, in other words, it's not null and it's not pending kill, if it's true, then it does have a job. All right. So if it's false, then it's available for work. So go ahead and compile and save that. That's all we need from that. Go back into your construction manager here. So now go ahead and pull off your selected local office again and do, see, I almost forgot. Go back into your construction office. Let's make this a pure function. Compile and save that again. All right, now pull off your selected local office right there and do get job status. Now, like I said, if it has a job, we don't want to do anything if it has a job. So we're checking, does it have an employee, and is it not currently busy? All right, so it does not have a job. And then plug that not into the and perfect. So let's go ahead and drop in a branch now and plug that execution in, hook up the and into the branch. So now we want this to be true. We want it to have employees and not have a job. So running off of the true here, what we need to do now is we need to get our selected local office, selected office local right here. All right, we need to get it. Now we need to check the distance. All right, so get distance to. Nice handy built-in function here that will get the distance from our target to the other actor. Well, the other actor is going to be the proxy local that we're passing in here at the very beginning. All right, so now it will give us a float value, and it's a straight line shot, right? So this isn't perfect if you want to figure out like distance on a path. This is just a straight, as a crow flies. So it may not technically be the closest if you've got, some pathing issues, like hills or mountains or something for it to go through that the NPC can't normally walk over. This just checks straight line distance, and that's fine, at least for now, for what we need. So we need to create a new variable now, because remember, we could have multiple construction offices in this loop here. So we need to add this to an array. So we need to keep track of those, create a new local variable, and we will call this one distance to site underscore local, and it needs to be of type float, and we will leave it as an array. Okay, so go ahead and pull this out. Let's get it, and we will add, and not add unique, just a regular add, because these are float numbers, so we don't, if we've got one that's exactly the same, we want both of them to be in here. We want everything that this is going to pump out to be stored in this variable. All right, so go ahead off the true there, plug that in, and that should be good to go for that. So what we need to do though with that is now we need to store this in just one more variable here. Remember, we're only getting to this point if we've got an available office, okay? So we need to create another local variable. We will call this available construction office underscore, or make it plural, offices underscore local. And the reason why I made it plural is because we're going to leave it as an array. We'll make this of type construction office BP reference. Okay, I hate how that pops up just because it's an array. All right, compile and save it. All right, the available construction offices, like I said, that's why we named it like this, is because we're only getting to this point if we've got an available office. And the reason why we're setting it here, it'll be apparent in just a little bit, but we're setting it side by side with this because that way they'll have the same index in the array. So it'll be easier to grab the one we need. So, but off of this, now we will do an add unique. Okay, because now we're not working with floats, we're working with individual offices. And even though the office for the most part is the same, they are different. So adding unique will be just fine. Okay, go ahead and plug in the execution. And the office we need to add is our selected local office. It's the one we're currently using in this loop. This will be reset every time and change. So for every available office, this will be different. Okay, and it will add that uniquely to that array. So that's all we need for that for the loop. We don't need anything off of the false, because if it's not available, then we don't want to use it. Okay. So now we need to come down here to the completed section of our for each loops. Now what we want to do once we've ran everything through and set everything into these arrays? Well, we need to get our available construction offices. Let's get it. We need to check its length, right? So, because what we want to make sure is that we ever set this variable right here. If there's nothing in this array, then that means it means we never found an available office. So if this is less than, or if this is greater than integer. So if it's greater than 0, then cool, we found at least one available office. All right, and that's what we need to do. So drop in another branch here for this. Put that in there. Let's go ahead and plug in the completed right there. All right. If the answer is false, let's just go ahead and do this now. If the answer is false, we could just pull this over and just plug this false into this and use it like that. I'm not going to. This is small enough. We could just go Control W. We'll just copy this and then plug the false of that right into there. So not a big deal. Like I said, you can't plug into that, but it's small enough to be able to just, place a second instance of it here. So if it doesn't have a local office that's available, it'll just set it to this variable that we set here, construction bids. It's just going to place this into an array that we'll use later, that the construction office can use to come back to say, hey, I'm not busy now. Is there any jobs for me? It can check this array, the construction bids, and pull off of that, doing pretty much the same thing. We'll use it to check to see which one in this array is closest to it, and it'll take that one. That's for another topic, but that's what this array is for, and that's what we're doing right here. So we'll place the proxy that we're testing this in at the very beginning right here. All right. We'll place that into the array. All right, so now, if this is true, we're just about done here. I know we're at about 30 minutes here, so, but that's fine. We are just about done. So what we need to do now is we need to take our distance to the site. We need to get it and pull out. And now we've used this before. We used this in when we were checking the slope of our ghost building before we place it. Min of float array. So now it's going to go through this entire array, and it's going to pull out the one that has the lowest number, right? The minimum number in that array. Okay. So now the reason why we came up here and we set these side by side here is because what this returns, it gives you the value of what that value is, but it also gives you the index where it's at inside this array. So that's perfect. So we need to get all our available offices, our local variable right there, and pull off this, and we need to get, and well, we need to get the index that this is at. So now, because they'll be the same index, that's why we did it like this. So if this is index number 2, then it's going to get index 2 here, and they're going to match up perfectly because of the way we set it up there, right? So now we need to go into, real quick, we need to go into the construction proxy, and we just need to create another simple variable here. We will call this one Contractor, right? Let's go ahead and change this to a type of construction office BP, make it a reference, and compile and save it. And this is just going to hold who is currently working on the building. So that way, if we need to come back later and say, hey, who's working on me? We have an easy reference to it, right? So we'll just set that here. That's the contractor that is working on the building. So pull off of, get your construction proxy local, get it, and then we'll do contractor, set the contractor. We want to set it to the construction office that we selected here, the one that's closest, right? So then now that variable's set. Come on, give me the true right there. Slide this up, clean it up just a smidge. All right, so now we got that. So now we need to create one more function, and we should be good to go. Go into your construction office, and this is a pretty simple function. Create a function, and we will call this one set current job. All right, remember we created this variable just a little bit ago called current job site. We checked it to make sure up here in this for each loop right here, get job status. That's what it's checking, is if in the get job status, it's checking, is that current job site, is there something stored in that variable? And well, that's what we're doing here. We're setting that variable now. So now it knows that it's busy, right? So for the input, we need to create a new input, and we'll just call this one job site. And you can call it proxy if you want, because that's ultimately what it is. But I'm just thinking in construction terms. You know, I don't know if that's just me or not, but I'll name it job site. And we will make this of type construction proxy BP reference. Right. So now we need to pull this out and set it. And we'll just set it to what we're passing in here, the construction proxy we're passing in. So then just pull off this, we'll do a return, and we will not make this appear. We'll leave this as a regular function, compile it, save it, jump back into your construction manager, and then back down here at the end, we still got this note because it doesn't end in a return node, not yet anyways. Go ahead and pull off the proxy local and do set current. Did I not compile and save that? Go into your construction office. Oh, that's why, because it's on the construction office. Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Go back into here, the contractor, pull off the contractor variable right here and do set current job. Okay, that plugs in. Now the proxy goes into the job site. All right, and then that is it. Go ahead and pull off this and do a return node just so it gets rid of that note. Compile it, save it. There we go. That is it. So I know we're almost 35 minutes into this right now, but let me run over this real quick and try to clarify this a little bit more. All right. So now when we call this function, which will go in here into the construction proxy, the construction manager. We'll go into the queue construction. All we need to do is we need to pull off this and do initial contractor search. Plug that in at the end. Now what we're searching for is this proxy that's coming through right here, the spawn actor that we're doing. So this is ugly. Why do we have this like this? I shouldn't be making this pretty, but all right. So now we'll pull off of this, right? This is the construction proxy. So now this proxy is going to be passed through whenever we queue the construction. When we place the building, if you remember back, it runs this function whenever we place a building, and it queues the construction, sets its construction time. Now we'll do initial contractor search. Okay, so now this proxy that comes through, we just set it to a local variable. We get all our construction offices that are in the map on the level, and then we set those to a local variable so we can use it later. Okay, then we check to make sure that we even have any construction offices, because you might not have any. So if you don't have any construction office, then it comes down here and it just sets the proxy that we're passing into a variable, a regular non-local variable that we can pull later from when we do have a construction office into we call the construction bids, and it'll place it there so we can come back and grab it later, right? So then if we do have a construction office, then we run a for each loop on the list of all construction offices. And in that, we check the office that's being passed through in this current iteration of the loop, make sure that it has employees. Yes, it has employees, and make sure its current job status is not busy, that it does not have a job, right? So employees, no current job, true. All right, so off the true, when we do that, we take the office that we passed in here. We just set it in this local variable called selected office. We check the distance between the construction office and the construction proxy, and then we set it to another local variable we call distance to site. This will keep track of all the distances from all the construction offices to the proxy, right? And then we simultaneously set it into another variable for the construction office into a variable called available construction offices. And then when it's done iterating through all the construction offices we have in the game, when it's completed, it comes down here. Now, did we have any available offices? Make sure it's greater than 0. If we did not, if there is no available offices, then just like we did here, if we didn't have any construction offices, it just takes that construction proxy and puts it into this variable here called construction bids, so that later the construction offices can come back, check this, and pull later. That'll be probably the next episode where we set that up. All right. But if we do have an available office, now we get the distance to the site. We get the minimum value, meaning the one that's closest to the construction proxy. We get its index, and we pull that out of the all construction office variable that we set right here, because these will line up. The indexes of these will line up, because if this one's setting, this one's going to set. Neither one of these will set without the other being set. So therefore their index will be identical. So we pull the index out of here, set it up, and we put this into another variable that we created on the construction office, or in the construction proxy, called Contractor. So that way we can use that later. And then we run another function we made called set the current job, which is the opposite of get job status. It just sets the variable for that, so that knows. And then that's it. I hope that's not too confusing. I know there's quite a bit going on, but it's really not too bad, and it'll probably make a little bit more sense once we actually start implementing it. But yeah, so that's it for this episode. If you guys have any questions, leave them down there in the comments. I'll do what I can to help you out, and try to explain a little bit further if that is what's needed. And as always, go down, hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Check out one of the other videos that I'm playing on screen right now. Until next time, peace.